Hello, listeners, and welcome to our program, Building High Performing Teams on Amagate Radio Communication. I am Titilola Ogushana. Today, we'll be discussing how to lead high performing teams. In the previous episode, with Mr. Jola Gbadebo, we delved deeply into strategies for building high performing teams. Let's look at it. After deploying the various strategies and we have high performing teams, what role do we as leaders in various organizations then have to play in leading and managing such teams? Today, we'll be looking at the critical factors in leading high performing teams. I'll start with this. As leaders, we must ensure that goals, objectives of each role are clearly communicated. The goals, objectives of each role, of each team member must be clearly communicated. It's important that we ensure that all expectations, all requirements, and deadlines must be clearly stated. There must be no form of ambiguity. They must be clear about what is expected from them. I always say that as leaders, you must avoid missing out vital information in the name of being concise. Yes, we understand that communication, you must ensure that it is clear, it is concise, you must ensure that it's concrete, it must be correct, coherent, complete, and courteous. We call them the 7 C's of communication. Yes, you must be concise when communicating, but does not mean that you are going to sacrifice clarity for conciseness. You must ensure that even when you have to use acronyms in business communication, sending out emails, even when discussing with team members, you must be sure that everybody understands the acronym that you are deploying, that you are using. In fact, in research, anytime you are going to use an acronym, there's a rule that must clearly state out the full meaning of the acronym before using it. For instance, if I want to deploy capital asset pricing model, yes, I will not put a CAPM at the beginning of my article. I must have stated out capital asset pricing model before I can be allowed in research to put a CAPM as an acronym. So the same granular could actually allow your team members miss out on complete information on what they are expected to do. For instance, when I put AP, now it depends in various contexts. AP could mean access points. AP could mean also Asia Pacific region. So you have to be careful when you are communicating. All these little things is really important when you are communicating. Effective communication is very critical. You must ensure that when communicating, it is very clear to team members. In fact, David Harrington said, if nothing else, be clear. So you cannot over when you are communicating. And people often confuse brevity, with clarity. So like I said, you can be brief, you can be concise, doesn't mean it has to be clear. And as a leader, you have to be deliberate about it. You must be conscious and be deliberate to give out clear information. In fact, when you are communicating, I will expect you as a leader to even state what your outcomes will be. Now, what is the purpose of this communication that I'm giving out? What do I want to achieve with this piece of information that I'm giving to my team members? So you can itemize it down. I want to achieve that the report is given in the next 3 minutes. It is done accurately. It is done timely. I want to ensure that all the core elements of the budget have been embedded in the budget planning. No, you need to be clear about what you are communicating to your team members and the outcomes. Is it deadlines? Are there critical elements that are important? You need to you need to ensure that you know what your expected outcomes are. Now, because you know what the expected outcomes are, then when you are communicating, you'll be able to factor it in, itemizing. If you're not going to itemize, making sure that every information that they are going to need to ensure that they achieve those outcomes you are preconceived are clearly stated in your communication to your team members. And I always say this again, that you must find a way as a leader to confirm that the message that you have sent is clearly understood by your team members. Now and communication is a two-way channel. You have sent out the communication to them. How do you want to ensure that what you intend to communicate to them has actually been communicated? So you must find a way. Sometimes I would advise to ask open-ended questions or wrap-up questions. On the final note, could we narrow down on the things you have discussed so far? So you'll be on the same page. Like I said, it's important that your goals, your objectives of each role, each team members must be clearly communicated, and the onus lies on you as a leader to ensure that the communication channels are seamless, to ensure that your mode of communication is efficient, to ensure that everything that you want in terms of the outcomes, are clearly preconceived by you, and you have actually embedded it in your communication to your team members. Is very important. And I always say that, look, ask them for what the agreed expectations are, so you're all on the same, and validate that they know. I'll take it again. Don't assume that they know. When it comes to communicating these roles, these goals to them, you must ensure and validate, I would say revalidate, that you're on the same page. Now, I say this, that leadership is your ability to influence. Out of all the leadership definitions, I believe that leadership is your ability to influence them. Yes, it's a high-performing team at the moment. How do you ensure that your team members continue on that path of maintaining the peak of performance? So let's look at the second critical factor that you need to take note as a leader when you are leading a high-performing team. You have set out those goals. You have communicated them clearly. The second one is you must understand your team members. You must remember that these are individuals in your team. They have different motivational issues. They have different personality traits. They have different ambitions, different dreams. So as a leader, you cannot truly influence them if you do not know them. And leadership is about influence. You must be able to influence it. So you must be deliberate about it. You must make out time to understand your team members, individuals. And interestingly, you cannot really understand them while they are working. So you must make out, plan avenues to associate with them, to relate with them, find more relaxing atmosphere, environment, through which you can get to them, because this will enable you to build rapport with them. People don't really care how much you know, and they know how much you care about them. So you need to know them to get the best from them. That's the truth. Now, you have different temperament levels among your team. We have different personality traits. Some are sanguine, choleric, melancholic. We have phlegmatic. We have different personality types. Even some are self-centered, like it or not. Some people are reserved. We have some people who have the role model personality type. We have some people who are the average personality type. So you need to know all of this. How do you want to know how to handle them if you don't even know if I'm an introvert, if I'm an extrovert, if I'm sanguine? So until you know me, then you can easily know how to, motivate me, how to influence me, because we are going to have various diverse areas of interest. We are going to have different types of hobbies. Some people could like traveling, some people could just like studying, some people could just love research. So there are different hobbies, there are different dreams, there are different aspirations, like I said. So as a leader, knowing them well would help you to design and deploy appropriate strategies that would motivate them. It's not when it comes to motivation, I say this a lot. I'm saying that Amogate, there is not a one-size fits all approach. Some people within your team would like sponsored trainings. What will motivate them as a form of incentive for them to do more, to get the best from them continuously, is to give people, just give them sponsor their trainings. Some people want a postgraduate program, sponsor, or even part payment of a postgraduate program. That's the person's dream. So you find a way to incorporate that within your goal, your own vision, your own objectives. Now, because personal development plan of individuals in your team also matters, because that's when you can get their engagement, and that is when you can get their commitment, and you can also get them to work for you in the next decade, 2-3 decades. Some people spend over 2 decades, 3 decades with organization. So it's important that you do this for your team member. In fact, what some people would love is just paid vacation, the family time. They just want paid vacation is enough for them. Some even would even get motivated when you give them more flexible work hours. In fact, what some people even want is, don't even give me money. I can afford what I want to, when I want to relax, I can afford my relaxation time. I can afford to travel around the globe. What I really want is more leave days. So you need this information when you are preparing your reward and motivation policies, packages for your team members. You cannot motivate me if you do not know me. So please, it's important as leaders that you must take out time to understand your team members. There are quite a lot of team bonding activities that you can put in place where you get to know them well. It's very important. The third point I'm going to be looking at is that you must ensure as a leader that you give timely and constructive feedback. You must ensure as a leader that you give timely and constructive feedback. You must give feedback. This is very critical if you are seeking to continuously improve the performance of your team. How you give feedback matters and can make a whole lot of difference. You want to ask me why? Yes, I'm going to answer you. If what comes to your mind is, why do I need to give feedback? You don't want your team members to feel demoralized or miserable. And the way you give it matters. The tone, how you give it matters. And I'm going to start with you to say, look, as a team leader, you must ensure that you use right words. You must ensure, I'll take it again, that you use right words. If you are just joining us, thank you so much for joining. Today we are looking at how to lead a high-performing teams, and we are looking at the critical factors that a leader must take note in order to continuously ensure high performance from your team members. We have looked at the first point when we spoke about making sure that ensuring that your goals and objectives are clearly stated and communicated. The second we mentioned was you must understand your team members, and we are on the third point saying that you must ensure that you give timely and constructive feedback. Why do you do that? Because you don't want your team members to feel demoralized, discouraged, disengaged, or worst case scenario, miserable. And I said that you must use right words. Now, what I've realized sometimes as leaders is some will tell me I'm a man of few words. Yes, you can be a man of few words, but must know how to communicate clearly and give feedback clearly. So that, because the essence of feedback is for your team members to improve. Now, for example, I'm giving feedback to my team member as a team lead, and I'm saying you did great. Okay, now my question to you, if that's what you love to say, you did great or you did well, how well is well? Okay, and how great is great? What is your definition of great? You did great. What is that? How do you define that greatness? How do you define how well something is? Now, you must give specifics. I say that would help them improve. For example, your team member have turned in a report, I've given you a report, and you love it. I love the report. What do you love about the report? You could say, look, I love the introductory part of the report. I love the diagrams and illustration that you deployed. It made the report more interesting and understandable. Now, your team member understands that his introductory aspect was fine. So if he or she had worked on it, look, that you go back to, okay, this is one area of strength in report writing. Now, the second one you have told him or her is that you love the diagram and illustration that he or she deployed. Okay, so it means that when it comes to diagrams, illustration, okay, it's also, that means she used it appropriately. That's the feedback we are given. Okay, and this helps the person to know his or her area of strength, and it's better. Now, sometimes again, you can celebrate it and you must still give the constructive approach. So if the team member has done it and you are looking at areas of improvement, now we also have another kind of some kind of leaders that they can give positive feedback, but they don't know how to analyze areas of improvement. So as a leader, it's not just to celebrate their strength, you must also seek out how, deliberate about it, how they can improve. They must improve, they must grow. That's why you are a leader. It's when they grow when they grow more, the more they grow, the more the team grows and the organization grows at large. You must be deliberate about looking at their areas of weakness, how they can grow. Okay, now let me, for instance, I have seen team members ask their team lead on what can I do better, how can I improve, is there anything you want me to take note of, are there areas you think I should work on? And the report they get from team lead sometimes is nothing for now. Sometimes is, I can't think of anything at the moment. Why can't you think of anything at the moment? As a team lead, you must seek out that developmental process. It's your responsibility. It's your responsibility. You must ensure that they move. So if you don't give those kind of feedback, the areas of improvement, how do you want them to improve? How do you want them to up their game? Okay, it's always important. A friend of mine always say that the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. So you must ensure that you are looking at this. Okay, for instance, still the same the example I stated earlier. You love the introductory part of the report, you love the diagrams, you love the illustration, and you know say, okay, maybe you could also consider doing a trend analysis. If you have looked at the profitability level in the reports of the company for over 5 years, well, if you are supporting a trend analysis, it could give management deeper insight. You are giving the person feedback, and that's an area of improvement. Now, how you now say it also matters, because I've realized that sometimes the way we talk to our team members could actually be demoralizing. So you must make sure that you communicate to them in a way that they feel respected and they feel there is hope. Because sometimes as leaders, the way we communicate, give our feedback could actually be heartbreaking, okay, and demoralize an individual. So we have to be careful, okay, that we give that feedback in a constructive manner. Okay, you want the person, to feel that level of self-worth. You don't want the person to feel totally useless. Okay, and in giving feedback again, you must ensure as leader that you focus on issues and not personality. Don't attack the personality of your team members. What are the issues? Is it an issue of communication? Is it an issue of leadership even in that role? Is it an issue of technical incompetence? Is it an issue of behavioral incompetence? These are things you should address, not the person's personality. You have to be careful, because this is very important that you do that. Because when you even give feedback to your team members, then, like I said, they know the area of strength, they know the area of weakness, and they know the areas where they need to improve upon. And even as a leader, you do not have to stop there. You must also identify those interventions that you can come up with to help to reduce or bridge that performance improvement zone in terms of their areas of weakness. This is important. Please, if you are listening to us as a team leader, it's time for you to start analyzing, checking yourself against what we have mentioned so far. Okay, thank you so much for staying tuned. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you for staying tuned. And if you're just joining us, we are discussing the critical factors for leading high-performing teams. We'll be looking at another factor I want us to consider now, is that you must proactively design conflict management strategies. when people are in a team, they have different temperament levels, they have different areas of interest, they have different areas of strength, they have areas of weakness. So definitely conflict would be inevitable. So as a leader, you must proactively identify those areas of conflict, and if you cannot eliminate them totally, you must find a way to manage them when they occur. So I would always advise organizations that you must have policy guidelines around conflict management. You must even talk about your conflict management or resolution process. When conflict occur, what is the process? How do you go about it? Who do you report it to? Are there areas, are there stages which the conflict management resolution decisions would be taken? Proactively as an organization, you need to take a position on this, because it is important that every team member feels that the environment is fair and just. You must create a culture, okay, where conflicts are handled effectively and as transparent as they could be. You must be very transparent with your conflict management process. That's why proactively, when you have your guidelines in place, when you have your processes in place, when you have your policies in place, you are already building an environment where people feel safe, where people feel they are going to be fairly and justly treated. This is important because you want to avoid having a toxic work environment. If you do not proactively, develop this framework where you can handle conflict transparently and efficiently, you are going to have people that will feel they are being sidelined, that will feel that they are being maltreated, that will feel that they are being unjustly handled in terms of conflict management in the organization. And you don't want to have this, because a toxic environment would lead to employee disengagement. And when employees are disengaged, it's going to affect the level of productivity in the organization. It's going to even affect your level of profitability in the organization. In fact, it might even threaten your very existence as a company, because bad brand, it can affect your brand. A bad brand, for you to recover from a brand that has been tainted, from a brand that has been tainted in any form, is usually very difficult. In fact, you don't even talk about legal issues, but that could even come out of it when you have a disengaged employee. So please, proactively, as a leader, you must ensure that you design your conflict management strategies. You must do this. If you do not have one organization right now, as you're listening, I would implore you, I will appeal to you that you go back to your workspace and look at those areas of conflict and proactively design a conflict management strategy in your organization. And not just designing, deploying it is very critical. Okay, now we'll talk about the last but not the least factor for today, is that as a leader, you've heard it over and over again from various sources. I'm going to reiterate it today again. You must develop your listening skills. You don't have all the answers. Your role as a leader is not just to talk, not just to lead, not just to inspire. Your role is also to get feedback and develop your team members also to be leaders. You must listen to them. I tell team leaders this a lot, that you must treat getting feedback from your team members as a special gift. I'll take it again. You must treat getting feedback from your team members as a special gift. It's a great gift. We say it a lot. And a dissatisfied customer will tell 1 million. A satisfied one might tell 5 people. So the same way, a dissatisfied employee, a dissatisfied team member is not only just not going to resign, even when they have the conscience to resign, some will stay within the system and they will also destroy your brand outside. And what happens to your employability rating? What happens to your vision to being an employer of choice? So you have people who want to come into your system, and you have your employees, your present team members, telling them, don't come there at all. Don't come there. Nobody is listening to you. You not feel valued. Okay? So you must treat those feedback from your team members as a special gift. Now, why do you need to do this as a leader? I will tell you this. It serves as a template for assessing the strength and effectiveness of your strategies and also your leadership qualities. When you listen to them, most times when we come up with policies, when we come up with business models, our team members are the ones that will deploy these models. So you need feedback from them to know how efficient, how effective these models that you have deployed are. We need to know we are heading on the right direction. If that is, when they give us feedback, if we are doing it right, they are validating that we are doing the right way, validating what we think as leaders are the results. And if we are getting it wrong, it helps us to quickly retrace our steps, saves us a lot of cost, so that we can go back to the drawing board. Even your effectiveness as a leader, your team members will be able to give you. And remember, the more you grow, the more your team grows. It's important that we do that. Now, the answers to every problem shouldn't always come from you. I will take it again. The answers to every problem should not always come from you. Rather, as a leader, you need to listen to them and help them to identify or even pinpoint the answers. Now, when I go to train, I will say that what I do here is to facilitate the process. Now, when I even go for strategic planning sessions with organization, I give them the template. I teach them these things, but allow them to co-draft the strategic plan with me. I do it with them, not for them. As a leader, when you listen to them, sometimes they are coming up, sometimes they have a lot of suggestions to a particular problem, seemingly problem. Your job is not to shut them out. Your job is to listen to them and look at everything they have said and find a way to organize that thought together to come up with profound solution. That is your job as a leader. In fact, it's not a nice to have skill. It's a must have skill. It's not just a must have skill that is start once and you just own it. No, you must continuously on. Continuously. Just like a musician will continue to practice with his instrument, continue to own his skill set. You must continuously own your listening skill set. No, you cannot be too deliberate about it. You must listen to them. You must guide them. You must facilitate the process. Is important. And let me tell you what it does to you as a leader. When you listen to them, you're also teaching them a leadership quality that when you become the head of a team, you must also listen. You're also teaching them that, look, you must also build your team members to be able to make decisions. You must teach them how to filter through suggestions and come to the point of making decisions. That is your role as a leader. Remember, leadership is about your ability to influence, ability to build others to also become leaders themselves. That is the only way an organization can continuously produce high-performing teams, because it doesn't stop at a particular point. The work environment, the global business climate is changing. So definitely we must continuously, as an organization, strive to perform at the peak of performance in the midst of this turbulent, and ever-changing business environment. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you have enjoyed anything today, if you have learned one or two points, kindly click on the like button. Thank you so much. On the final note, I'll leave us with the words of John Quincy Adams. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, become more, you are a leader. Who is a leader according to John Quincy Adams? I'm going to take it again. If your actions inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, become more, then you are a leader. It's time to ask ourselves this question: am I a leader? Does my action allow my team members to dream more? Does it inspire them to learn more on their own? Can they do more? And can they become more because of my level of inspiration? If the answer is yes, then you are a leader. Keep at it. And if the answer is no yes, okay, go back to the drawing board. And if the answer is a capital NO, please, it's not too late. It's time to start looking at how to be deliberate about making your team members dream more, learn more, do more, and become more. Okay, thank you so much once again for staying tuned. For your questions, feedback, suggestions, kindly send a mail to us at contact@thearmorgate.org. For feedback, comments, send a mail to us at contact@thearmorgate.org. Or you can send a WhatsApp message to our WhatsApp line +234 8079574151. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Hope that you join us same time, same station. I remain yours, Titilola Ogunshono, saying bye from here.